Good afternoon, everyone. And it felt as though panel 1 were having a Korean competition. Panel 2 are going to have, I feel, a county competition. Because Harley, Tyrone, Hugh, Down, Andrew, Armagh, and Liam, Antrim. And yes, you guessed right, I'm a Derry girl. But thanks to Senator George Mitchell, 25 years ago, I left Derry to come to Belfast. I backed Belfast, I believed in Belfast, and I trust you all agree. The first video that was shown is that Belfast is buzzing. There is a really thriving tech ecosystem of titanic proportions. And despite all the elevated uncertainty that we are now experiencing in the world and some of that geopolitical challenge, Belfast is still knocking it out of the park in terms of fabulous, inspiring innovators, and I'm truly delighted to have 4 of them with us here today, representing fintech, medtech, security tech, and sport tech. And I'm going to let them all introduce themselves, share their story in terms of their growth in their businesses they have founded to date, and they're much better at doing that than I. So I'm actually going to start with Hugh.
Oh, right. I'm one of the founders of the company Cerdan. We are a company that's a digital health company focusing on the diagnostic clinical pathways. Basically, the software and the hardware tools to help with diagnosis, looking at specimens, tissue samples, blood samples, other less appetizing samples we'll not talk about over dinner, and helping to diagnose and understand how we can expedite and improve that diagnosis and speed up that diagnosis, which is best for the healthcare systems, because the faster you can find out what's wrong with somebody and start to work and treat it, the better it is for the patient, the better it is for the healthcare system. So we're a company that grew out of Belfast. There's a small company yet, but growing fast, big ambitions. We sell our products all over the globe. We have labs that we support all over the globe, including here in the US, and we have staff to support them across the globe. Our major market share is in actually Australia and in the Asia Pacific, and then UK and Ireland, and then lesser so in the US, but that's something we're looking to change now, is put a big more emphasis into the US market. One of the things we always look at our business is, the foundation of Ireland as a whole, one of our secrets is really the focus on education. We have the best education and the best educated workforce in the world. And that means that we can be very flexible and adaptive and pivot to whatever challenges meet our way. And just in the 10 years we've been in business, that has actually been critical to us, that we have been able to pivot our business and make it work and grow and develop. And that we see it across a lot of the businesses across Ireland and across Belfast in particular.
Thank you. I think possibly underselling what fabulous things that Hugh and the team at Cerdan are doing. Their equipment and software is actually installed in 200 laboratories across the globe in 20 countries, Hugh, if I'm correct?
Yep, and we have some of our imaging products, for example, Hawaii and to Montefiore in New York here. So I didn't get to do the Hawaii install, but I'd have to find out why that happened. But across the globe, we have hospitals, labs that we support. Those labs 24/7, 365 days a year, all across the world. And a lot of clinical for patients and hospitals, and a lot of it also for developing pharmaceutical companies and new drug development and new drug discovery. But we're sort of still growing, and we try and keep our ambitions and our sort of ego in check, because we know we have a long way to go yet.
Yeah, such an exciting road ahead. Harley, if I may come to you in terms of options and certainly the journey, and particularly the talent magnet that options is, and certainly Belfast's role in all of that. Maybe share some of the story with the audience.
Well, I've been with Options for 6 years now. I actually started in the Belfast office and then moved over to New York about 4 years ago. For those that aren't familiar with Options, we're the leading provider of technology to capital markets. So what that really is, it's market data, it's trading infrastructure, it's IT management, it's application hosting, all for the financial sector. So we've over 600 clients across the buy side, across the sell side. And the nature of our business, it is global. We support the global markets. We're supporting trade and infrastructure in production throughout the week, and we're making all those changes and migrations at the weekend. So we have to be always on and really everywhere. But our main HQ and hub, and where we really have that big talent pipeline, that all comes through our Belfast office. So we really get quality hires there, and I think there's two main reasons for that. There's, of course, the education that we have in Belfast today. So we have great relationships with both Queen's University and with Ulster University. So we have different talent pipelines there, placement and graduate programs. And we also take, of course, computer science, data backgrounds, but we take a lot of students as well from the athletic programs, because we find that those skills really translate well to making great employees. And of course, the education is key, but in our world, like, technology moves quickly. We're always innovating and moving forward. So we take the approach that we hire people, not robots. We can teach a lot of that. So what we find, I think it's really the inherent characteristics of the people back home that make such great employees, and they're very determined, they're very adaptable, they're very resilient. It's a demanding industry that we're in, and also they're just great people to be around, right? When you're putting in a long shift and it's maybe been a tough week, it's always that humour and the attitude that they bring with it that's really great, and they'll really go above and beyond to do anything for their team. And we've seen across our clients throughout the world, some of talking the top hedge funds, the top prop shops that will say, like, how do we emulate this talent? Where do we get those Belfast kids? So we're really, really lucky to have the talent source we do in Belfast.
That grit and determination sounds as though I'm back to championship football talk, but I'm not. But with that, just then, in terms of Matthew, what you're doing, Matthew came in from Bermuda last night. Was there in business? It's fantastic in terms of security tech that you have developed. You can share with the audience.
Absolutely. So just to touch on the county rivalry here. So I don't believe any of us are actually from Belfast. We're all country folk.
All the cultures.
I was born in Belfast.
Oh, wow.
I live most of the time in Uri.
We have 1 out of 4, which is good. But what I want to sort of touch upon quickly, just has anyone here watched the All-Ireland final this year? Yes, I've seen a lot of hands. So who was it that won the All-Ireland final this year? Armagh. So I'd just like to say the best county award goes to Armagh. And we actually have former Armagh star Mel Courtney in the room. Armagh Gaelic football legend. So a big round of applause for Mel. He takes photographs. He charges a very modest fee. But yeah, no, look, my name's Matthew. I'm from Halo's Body Cams. We're a technology company based out of Belfast. We also have offices in Dublin, Dallas, and Dubai. Some other partner offices around the world. We're in 31 countries. The most recent being Bermuda. So we just deployed the Bermudan Police Service yesterday. So I got in quite late and went for a few drinks with the team, but it was all good fun. But as a business, look, to give you a bit of an overview, we are the world's fastest growing body cam company. Based out of Belfast. We don't focus on policing whilst we do it. So we do the Bermuda Police Service, but what we more focus on is the private sector. And we are the real player in the private sector. And it's something that in the States, I don't know if you've noticed, but private security companies have started wearing body cams. We always think of policing, but it's much more than that. It's haulage companies. If you're delivering goods and you want to record the onboarding process, the offloading process, we record that as well. So there's tons of different applications, and some of our biggest customers we signed last week was McDonald's. So we've just rolled out the UK, and we'll be rolling out the United States, hopefully, if all goes well. So we're working with the McDonald's team over here on a proof of concept, but it's all looking very positive. But yeah, so we're the fastest growing body cam company in the world, and we're based out of Belfast with significant operations in the American market, which is now just become our largest market. So if there's any state controllers that might want to invest in a body cam company, we're open to have a chat.
I think you were sharing with me, Matthew, that actually out of your revenue so far in the business, that actually 95% of it comes from private sector. not in terms of public law enforcement, which I find really, really interesting. Indeed, there's gardening contractors. I heard yesterday evening that are...
So someone asked me yesterday, we were talking about this at the bar, I was like, what's the most random industry that we work in? And gardeners are wearing body cams. Who would have thought? But they're actually recording it for a service-based application. So I want to record the start of a day, the end of the day, for that landscaping role. Here's what I did. And we know some suppliers sometimes might not get paid. So with Halo, we're given that protection that here's day by day what we did, start of the day, end of the day, to guarantee that service. So any gardeners who need cameras, I promised Marcin I wouldn't do any sales today in Conla, but if anyone needs any body cams, whether you're a gardener or if you're a truck driver, we do it all.
What an insightful story. And then, Liam, in terms of the world of sport tech, what you're doing with Team Feepay, can you share some of your stories so far?
Yeah, I will. I think just again on the county competition, there was a big announcement yesterday. British government just agreed to give 50 million to the development of Casement Park. So I think if Bernie or Tom want to invest in sports capital stadium, Casement Park sitting there, and we'd love to have that in Belfast. I'm going to talk about another sport right now. And just before I do, a lot of people don't know this. I grew up in New York, so this is a bit of a homecoming for me. From I was about 4 through to about the age of 10, my father was in construction, a drunken Irish builder, you know, and he used to come over here, work for a couple of years, head home, drink all his money, and then bring us back to New York again. So, my brother's a New Yorker, and a couple of years ago, we had the joy of coming to his wedding here. So we love New York. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, but after graduating from university, I spent a brilliant amount of time working in Belfast City Council. There's some former colleagues here, Laura Leonard and the Lord Mayor and Damien. I loved City Hall. I worked in sport. And the big thing for me was London 2012 Olympics came. And that was my first foray into developing a sports-based service. Roll on 15, 20 years, COVID comes along, and we're all a little bit, I called it the great escape for most of us. I decided I was really unhappy with my place in the world. And I couldn't play football anymore. So I decided I was going to build this football technology company. We work with volunteer-led sports clubs across the world, in the main UK, Ireland, and Europe. A bit like Matthew here, we're the fastest growing in the world. We started 3.5 years ago. We have 70 full-time employees. 50 of them are based in the Titanic Quarter, which was just talked about. And I think for us, we're on a journey to becoming the biggest in the world. Now, maybe due to some unpopular opinion, we don't get the opportunity to say this as pan-Europeans, but the football market in Europe is about 20 times bigger than the US market. And I know the World Club Championships are coming to New York, and it's a big, and the World Cup comes next year. But our World Cup is actually Europe. About 85% of grassroots football clubs in Europe don't actually have a platform. And we are providing that service right across Europe right now. We help clubs collect money from their members. We help them communicate and schedule. We help them with compliant communication in a world of regulated child protection, working with minors. So we do all that type of stuff that used to be done on pen and paper. And we've now built this platform out of Belfast. Happy to say, a bit like Matthew, we are the fastest growing in the world. We've turned down 2 acquisition offers from American companies. Last year, one of those companies was a company called Playmetrics. They offered us 50 million to go. And we said, we're just getting started. You know, we are committed to putting Belfast on the map. This is my 7th startup, so this is not about money. This is about mission. And this is about putting Belfast at the front and centre of youth sports across the world. Coincidentally, that company were just bought for $380 million about a month ago, and those investors are back knocking the door. So we're going to open an investment round later in the month, and our lawyers are in the room. John maybe found out last night, John, that we're about to open a data room and start that process. But we're really excited about the future of our company and how we plan to dominate youth sports, in particular youth soccer, across the world in the next 5 years.
I have to say, if you're not truly inspired by our four fabulous innovators, I look, the accountant now coming out in me, I had asked all of our panelists to tell me 2 big numbers that stand out in their story so far. So who am I going to pick on first, or does someone want to go first? Bold and brave.
Do you want me to go?
Go for it,
Look,
Harley.
Can I do percentages? Is that allowed?
That's okay, we can do the maths.
Yeah, so as I said, those 600 clients globally, right? 34% of our total workforce is based out of Belfast. So if you think the amount of clients they're supporting and the caliber of clients, like a third of that's being done from Belfast. So I think that's something that we want to make people aware of, and for people in Belfast to realise that those opportunities are there. And as you said at the start of this, I'm from Tyrone. I'm from Owen, Tyrone. I had no idea what Wall Street was, and I went to Queen's University. I moved to Belfast. I started at CME Group, and I moved over to Options. And when I was young, I didn't know that career existed, right? So it's, I think, making people aware that those opportunities do exist in Belfast. And then with that, the progression that's there. So in our company, 60% of our VPs began in Belfast. So that's VP and above. So right up to our C-suite, and our CEO is actually based in Belfast as well.
Wow, to have a third of your workforce in terms coming from Belfast is truly fantastic. Hugh?
Probably one of the numbers in my mind at the moment is that for a typical diagnosis of cancer, the process, because of the steps involved, typically takes 36 hours minimum. We have developed new technology that we're going to be looking to release next year. We should do that in 6 seconds. Wow. And that would really bring the whole process and a lot faster and a lot more reactive in the process. And so that's the number at the moment that was sticking in my mind.
Yeah, no, truly matters what you're doing. Phenomenal. Matthew?
Number one number would be, you touched on it earlier, 95. So 95% of our business is in the private sector, as we touched on earlier. Quite literally, our biggest competitors, two of the giants, are US based. They would be 95% the other way, which is law enforcement. So we're really in and law enforcement, whilst the largest sector in the body cam world, it's actually the slowest growing. Fastest growing is the private sector for private security. We have an absolute position in that market that's allowing us to expand at the rate that we're expanding at. So that would be number one. And number two, we touched on was 20, which was 20 million. So we raised $20 million last year from a Boston-based venture capital firm, Volition Capital. That was a Series A. And that was the largest Series A in Northern Irish history. So we're really proud of that. And yeah, so it sort of gives you a bit of an idea of where we're heading and what we're planning on doing. So again, not to be a salesman again, but Series B is coming up. And if anyone fancies chucking us a few quid, we will give you a very solid return. So
I know a few good advisors too. We'll talk about that after. But Liam as well, any?
Yeah, Ashleen, I think the two big numbers for us is we work in youth volunteer-led sports, so they're effectively charities or non-profits. And we help them bring in 30% more money annually than what they would have done if they were using just the old Kaiser standing orders. So you add up all those football clubs and all those volunteer hours, it gives them a very healthy return that can be invested back into the very fabric of sporting communities the length and breadth of Europe. I think the second thing, when you say non-profit or voluntary, and you talk about us being 3.5 years old, are they really that big a business? This year we'll process about £200 million through our platform. Last year it was just less than 100 million. So I wish we had that type of money. We wouldn't be pitching for investment. That's our club's money, but we think it's a pretty big stat that shows we're a very credible company.
And with that, our time is nearly up. And I just want for 20 seconds, just in terms of point 2, Northern Ireland delivers. It is prospectus at KPMG, a live document that really gives a deep dive into what's fantastic about home and the real opportunity that is there. We have a lot more to do. Corporation tax reduction campaign, certainly our Head of Tax, partner in charge, Johnny Hanna, is in the room, so certainly we would love to continue the conversation on that and how we turn that into reality. But look, I want to thank each of our panellists for their truly inspiring stories and really look forward to following you all on the road ahead. And I trust you all agree that Belfast is very much a city that continues to rise and never ceases to surprise. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Ashleen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.